Electricast. Welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design, where we celebrate women who are shaping their lives one extraordinary day at a time. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, self-care coach for women who are ready to make self-care a priority to support them in life and business. Every week, I'll be speaking with inspiring women from various walks of life who will share their personal journeys and will discover how they have fearlessly carved their own paths as business owners, passionately pursuing their dreams and creating a meaningful impact on their communities. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome to our Extraordinary Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Leslie, and I'm excited to be speaking with my next guest. Today, we're talking with Aurora Anthony. Aurora is a financial representative, tech founder, and HR expert based out of Westchester County, New York. With a strong background in human resources and a passion for innovation, Aurora brings a unique perspective to the world of savings, retirement planning, and generational wealth. She previously spent 3 decades as a business owner in the food and beverage industry in the highly competitive New York City commercial food service market before venturing into financial services. As a youngster, Aurora placed first all around for New York State for 2 consecutive years, awarding her the ability to compete and travel the world, including a 3-week stay with Peking's Olympic team. These experiences taught her team building and the ability to work in diverse and robust settings at an early age. Presently, Aurora rebooted her career as a dedicated financial representative based out of Garden City, New York, where she specializes in guiding individuals and businesses towards secure and prosperous financial futures. Aurora is known for her ability to think outside the box, utilizing her HR and business development acumen coupled with life experience to deliver meaningful and impactful results. I'm excited that Aurora has carved out some time today to spend with me and to share her beautiful story. So let's get started. Welcome, Aurora. I'm happy to have you on the show today.
Leslie, you make me blush. Thank you for the wonderful accolades. I appreciate you.
Oh, well, I love you too. So before we get started, tell us a little bit more about Aurora. You have quite an extensive bio, but tell us just a little bit more. Who are you? I would love it if you would share that a little bit more background about the woman, the personal side of your story, and then we'll talk about what you do.
Well, first off, I come from 4 sisters. We all grew up in Westchester, New York. My mom's from Mississippi and my father's from the Caribbean, a little island called Nevis. So we grew up with, I'd say, an entrepreneurial spirit because we have, I think it's 3 generations of entrepreneurs within our family. So that kind of started off just even the mindset of how we were in the household. Our father would make us read poetry and he would make us write, we'd have to write in our journal. He'd give us something to read about somebody who done something historical. And then we'd have to once a week give him a written essay on what we'd read. So we grew up in a really nerdy house. My mom was a professor. My father owns his own business, which he began in 1963 as the first and only Black man doing repair and service for commercial kitchen equipment and food and beverage. So from there, with the 4 girls, at some point in my life, I kind of got hit with a decision. I wanted to stay in DC after college. So we had to go to college, all 4 of us. It was you couldn't even, there was no, you had to. So coming out, I wanted to stay in DC, but the economy tanked. And they gave me an ultimatum to stay in DC, and I could not find a job to save my life. But I think I could only find squirting perfume jobs, and it used to make me sick. Or I could come back home and work for the family business. So I did that for 27 years. And growing up with 4 sisters, you have like built-in friends, you have built-in trust. And I worked with one of my sisters. We sat across from one another for 27 years or 23 years working together. So we come from a really strong family background and also from service. Like our house would be the place when like my mom and dad were together. When my father died in 2017, they were still married for 51 years. So when people wanted to have control of their children, they sent them to my house. And my father would put the gavel down with his West Indian accent and preach history and explain to you the importance of who you are. And just teach you to be a thinker and think on your feet and never be told what to do. Think outside of whatever if someone tells you and it doesn't add up, come up with your own solution. Figure out why it doesn't add up to you. So I never take no for an answer. I teach my kids that. Never give up. Keep going until the end. That's competitive gymnastics. Get it?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Thank you so
That's
much for sharing
a
that.
little bit about me. And now I'm with my sisters doing a podcast as well. So it's just so wonderful to be working with my family. And I feel blessed to be doing that.
Yeah, well, I love that about your story, and especially I didn't grow up with girls. I grew up with boys, so I didn't have that
Ooh,
sister bond. Yeah, so that was a completely different dynamic. But I always wondered what it would have been like to have a sister, and so I think, in as I've gotten older, I've just started creating my own sisterhood with the people that I'm bringing into my life, and so even though we might not be blood sisters, I still feel like really close to a lot of the women that are coming into my life. So I truly appreciate learning that about you, having four sisters. I think that's great. So now let's talk about what you do. You have an incredibly interesting background. You've spanning the food service, technology, human resources, and now in financial services. So, how have these varied experiences shaped your approach to financial planning and connecting with clients?
well, what I would say is I kind of got recruited into the financial side of things. I never expected myself to be on this side, did not want to be on this side of it, but everyone kept telling me to be a great fit. I have the personality for it and I love business and I understand finance. So people push, push, push. I got recruited. And throughout this recruiting, I'm realizing there's the gap of inequity in finances for women and for divorcees and women of color. So it's kind of given me a passion and a fire in me to make sure that women in particular, I think the statistics are 90% of women who've been divorced cannot leave, do not, or 95% do not leave behind generational wealth. For me, that's a problem because usually the mother's the one who's there taking care of the child in most cases, not always. I'm not going to stereotype, but when you get divorced, you lose a lot of money. When you're not with the other parent, it's much more difficult to survive on one paycheck. So throughout this journey of me being within this industry, I've even kind of focused my market to make sure that we're making sure that we have the retirement income in place because people think that Social Security and Medicare and the services which the government or your state is going to give you will suffice when it comes time to pull on that at 65. It's not enough. If you're in the hospital over a certain amount of days, they don't pay for that. That comes out of your pocket. So I just don't think that the way that we're taught as Americans, we're taught how important it is to put that money and invest in yourself younger so that when you get to that age in that group, you're in a good place to be able to take care of yourself. You're able to have money to try and help your kids if that's what you want to do. If you don't plan things, things don't happen. You have to manifest it, put it out there into the earth, put it out there into the cosmos to even get the wheel moving. So, yeah, I'm very passionate about making sure that we're set up for retirement, have fixed income coming in, things like that. If something were to happen, something's left behind, you're not on a GoFundMe page looking for money. Like there's such better options out there. And I just think it's important to have the access for financial education, resources, and the accessibility to it. And I feel like I've been called to service to do that. And I love it. I feel like I deliver flowers. I used to get yelled at from the shop saying, "Where's my kitchen? Where's my oven?" And now I'm like, oh my God, you have something. If something happens to you, I can make sure that you have money to take care of yourself. So it's a different dynamic and I love it.
Yeah, I love that about you, about your story when we first connected, and that you have such a passion about that. So I really appreciate that. Now, you brought this up as a woman of color, right? Because this is what this series is about. Bringing this series, Women of Color, for my March series, because I really wanted to bring the diverse background to the forefront. I think it's not that we're not recognized, but I really feel like this is a good platform to really not only just empower each other as women, but women of color. So, as a woman of color and you're an entrepreneur, what unique perspectives do you bring to the finance industry and how can we encourage more diversity?
Funny you say that. I'm working on a project right now too, just for that reason. I want to understand. I'm finding out that a lot of people, I might be their first reach out from someone who's saying to them, hey, you have options out here to save. You have options out here for retirement planning. For some reason, I find a lot of women of color or just people of color assume or have been told erroneously by people that they don't have the means or they're not in a place to save. And my thing is, you'll have the old poppies and then take the $50 and the bingo and put it under the mattress. You can put that $50 in an account and make interest on that and create income for yourself. So I just don't think we're giving even these answers, these talks, and that's what is fueling me right now to work with women and work with people of color to show them that there are other opportunities out there for us, but they just need to see it and have access to it. So I don't know what I'm doing on it, but I want to definitely be part of that wheel that's turning to make it different and be a disruptor in it because everybody should have access to it. There's enough for everybody out here.
Yeah. And you're right. I think the model of retirement was probably at that time made sense. But I think too, in school, we should also be taught finances. All of us, not just someone who decides to take accounting or someone who
Leslie,
decides to take,
apparently, Leslie, you didn't grow up in the US because that's not what they teach. They teach how to sew.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
saying,
no, they taught us the same thing, home economics, how to cook, how to sew, woodworking for the guys, or being a mechanic, working on cars. Those are all great because obviously we need those skill sets. But the thing that I think was the most important is what you're talking about is that wealth building, that financial planning for down the road, for not just now, for today, but for down the road. And again, like you were saying, generational wealth. If you have children and you want to leave something behind, you're not necessarily leaving something behind so they'll never have to work a day in their life, but you want to make sure that they're not just left with nothing, they're left destitute. And I think that's important. That's why I really love what you're doing, because I think you are bringing awareness to the fact that we still don't have these types of mindsets. It's still not happening in school. It's still not happening. They're not teaching about it. They might teach about it in specific courses that you take or classes that you take in college, but I think it should start at grade school. I mean, this is where you should start learning about it. And if you're only learning about it from at home and those parents never really learned about money and how to save and how to invest and all of those things, the importance of it, and not just worrying about like the means of having money to spend today, but not thinking about tomorrow. I know we always say you don't have to always think about tomorrow, but when it comes to that, we really should be thinking about tomorrow, because tomorrow could come where we really need that money. And like you were saying, a GoFundMe page is not a place you want to have to end up in. So,
and you know what
which
else is a thing on this whole, just when it comes to investing in yourself, I tend to see that people will invest in other things before they invest in themselves. And if you're putting money into a savings account, or you're putting your money into an annuity or an insurance or a good stock, we'd hope, this is money that you're investing into your future. Anything good is worth investing into. You don't just show up and pray that the gods rain down, and you plan, you strategize, you do the work to get the best outcome you can get in any situation. So why would not investing in yourself as early as you can in your life not be the same? And I just don't think that people think about creating of savings and generational wealth. They see it as something in the future. It's something that I can do at some point. No, you invest in your car, make sure that you get into an accident. How often do you get into an accident? Rarely. Why not put that same amount of money into yourself so that when you're 50, 60, 70 years old, you have some income coming into yourself because you've set yourself up right. So again, it's access. It's having not just access to the financial resources and stuff that's out there, but you also need to have someone that you trust. And I feel like there has been a lack of, I don't know, it's something that we have to do better on within the financial industry to make people feel that if I have $50 or I have $100, then it's okay to come talk to somebody. It's okay to say, what should I do? And not be so shameful. It's like you don't want to talk about money and death. And I get it. But if you don't talk about it, you don't plan for it. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who are new to retirement and financial planning, what foundations do you recommend people start with, and what key priorities should they focus on?
The first one is savings. Even if it's $5, even if it's $10, getting yourself in that mindset to start savings. I particularly like to work with people who have that mindset because it's like you can't make an apple an orange. If someone doesn't believe in saving and believe in that mindset, you can't make them. So, my first step is when I work with people, they have to be willing to, you know, a lot of times we're living paycheck to paycheck and you don't have it, but you'll spend $5 to maybe get that coffee and that donut in the morning, you know, instead of getting that coffee and donut in the morning, eat something at home before you leave and take that $5 and put it somewhere that week. And so if you really get into that mindset, once you start gaining money and putting money in your account and doing it, you're automatically doing that in increments higher. And you're in that mindset when it comes time to start being putting stuff into investments, into insurance policies, into retirement planning, into disability insurance. Like 75% of people get hurt at some point in their lifetime on the job. People aren't insuring themselves for that. What happens when you're out of work? Most insurance policies will cover you, I think it's 6 months, maybe 2 years at 50%, 60% of your salary. What then if it's longer? So we're not investing in ourselves. And there are ways that you can also accumulate cash within these investments. So I just think it's really important that you don't sit on things alone and think that you are by yourself and no one's going to help you. Ask somebody. People are out there, a friend of a friend or someone or me. You ask people and you'll get the right advice. And like I said, if it smells like a rat, keep asking. Ask until you get the answers you want to hear. Because there's so many different ways to strategize when it comes to financial planning. So
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. So, when you are talking to potential clients, what misconceptions are you finding that are coming up about finances or wealth and that you're helping to debunk? Because people have their own idea around, oh, someone wants to take my money. That a lot of the time people just are not trusting. So, what advice do you offer instead?
well, it's your money. You work really hard for it. So that's one of the things I was saying earlier. The trust factor is an issue. I mean, a lot of the people of color that I speak to talk about having had someone in their background, having put money into an insurance policy. And then when it comes time and someone passed, they're getting the same amount that the policy was worth from day one. And that you get a level of distrust and a bad taste in your mouth. So it really does have to do with you doing your research, finding that person who aligns with what you want. Because, some people could be about traditional retirement planning. Some people could be like, okay, you want a retirement plan? Well, let's diversify that and do some annuities, some life insurance, and throw in some stock too. So, like, there are so many different routes you can take. So, it's about finding the person who resonates with you that you can talk to. And one of my biggest things is transparency. I
Mhm.
like to show people what I'm working with and not rushing into something. Like the way that our process works, it takes anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months to get through our process because we vet you and make sure you're right. If I'm not the right person, I'll find somebody in the team to work with me to make sure you get what you want. So you need to do your research when you're working with the team that you're working with. Make sure that they've been around for a while, how their dividends are paid out. Make sure that they haven't had years where they didn't pay out, things like that. And watch your money, reconcile your bank statements at the end of every month. People don't realize sometimes they'll be paying double on Hulu. There are so many times where people just assume that what they put through the bank is fine. You might go through there and find $300 got taken out of your account and there was fraud. So protecting your information, knowing who you're working with, doing your due diligence and research. And if it feels right, it feels right. You want to it's like a marriage. This is your money. You want that person that you're working with to feel right for you. So, and that's really important for me. Like I said, I don't work with everybody. You have to be in that mind saving strategy and we have to align with one another because then I can do the best for you. And you want someone more like that as opposed to someone who wants to just push a product.
Yeah, I agree. So, I have a couple last questions. I this last one that I just decided upon. So before we get there, I want to
I
ask
love
you
it.
this question. Yeah. So let's just talk about, because this is for, I really truly want to empower women. Like for me, March, if I don't call it like the one day International Women's Day. Even one month isn't enough. I think women should be supporting each other and empowering each other and applauding each other, inspiring each other, encouraging each other every single day. So if there is one piece of advice, financial advice that you can give to young women of color, what would it be and why?
Start early as possible to save. In our company at National Financial Network, we ask our people to be super savers, and that's anywhere from 15% to 20% of your income, and aim for that. That's what you're eventually going to get to. People do things like cash stuffing. Cash stuffing is where you'll take a book and it'll say $1, $5, $20, $10, and you make sure that you put one of those in each of those, and that way you'll save money. There's so many different strategies. I don't know about that one. You don't want to put something underneath your bed and then it could get robbed. I don't know. But I'm saying there are different ways to begin, and you have to start early. And the earlier you start, the more you're going to make. And I'm also all about compound interest. So also look for the compound interest when you're doing investments and policies. You want to make sure that, because then you're making more money on your money, not just straight interest. So these little things, and start early and do it, because people wait. That's my biggest thing. I find that people get nervous to invest in themselves, but you're spending that money elsewhere. Why not take a little piece of that and put it towards you? Like, there are even ways that you can do your 401. So your 401, let's say you do a 4% and your employer does a 4% match, right? Another way you can do it is do the 2% match with the employer. Take that other 2% that you were investing in there, that could go into something else that's going to have a higher dividend for you, a higher interest rate for you. So if you smartly invest and work strategically with somebody in something that's affordable for you, and you potentially grow, your money will grow. Start early, save, 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 invest in yourself, because no one else is going to do it. Well,
Yeah.
I guess
No,
they would, but
yeah.
you know what I mean.
Absolutely. I love that. Great advice. So, my last question I want to ask about this because I feel just called to, because I feel this is about empowering women, and you are doing something really special with your sisters. So, tell us about that.
Well, it's twofold. We started out during the pandemic helping people find things on the ground, and it's transitioned. And we are currently building a website so that people on the ground, so retailers and shoppers, can find one another and also talk to people on the ground and see what's out there, where it is, how much it is. And also, it's built around a community. Right now, we have 35,000 followers through a private group on Facebook at Youdle, Youdle. And go there for Facebook right now. And you can also go onto our website. It's called Youdle It, Youdle.it, and search for things that you're looking for. If you're looking for pantyhose, type in pantyhose, type in your zip code. It'll come up, tell you where it is. And as well, we're also launching our podcast about Black women again. That's why I love what you're doing, Leslie. We are empowering Black women to be beautiful, bold, amazing, show our magic. And so we're also doing that as well with Sispreneur Stories. So I really thank you for having me on today. This is amazing. Thank you. We need stuff like this for people to hear our voices, Leslie. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you. I'm really happy that we got to meet, and I'm so happy that you found time to come on and share your story with us today. I really feel like what you're doing is important. Again, I wish that I had an Aurora in my life when I was growing up to teach me about money. Although I knew how to make it, I knew equally how to spend it, and faster than I was making it. So I really feel like today the message is, yes, you still celebrate yourself, but celebrate yourself also for your future by investing in yourself today. I think that is really important. And
And Leslie, I
yeah.
just also want to leave with, it's never too late. That's
Hmm.
another message I want to give. Start early, but it's never too late. When are you going to do it if you don't start at some point?
Yeah.
That's what I say. You have to start from somewhere. So that's the other part of advice that I'd like to give. Because I think Black people sometimes get scared. Women of color get scared. They're like, I didn't do it early enough. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Start somewhere, you know?
Yeah. Thank you so much for reminding us that it doesn't matter when you start, just start. And I hope our listeners are feeling motivated to take charge of their financial futures, because now that you have come on and said, listen, what you do with your life today and looking at your finances can make a huge difference, a huge impact as you are older and you get into those retirement years. And if you want to be able to retire early, then start early. But if you are starting in your later years, then there's no time like the present. You can still set yourself up for a happier future, or should I say a better financial future if you start today, even if you find yourself at 40, 50, 60, and you need to start. Starting is like you said, start now and set yourself up, set your future up. So thank you so much. I am really happy that you came on today. And again, thank you
Thank
for sharing your unique, yeah, your wisdom has been amazing. And to our listeners, again, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep designing your extraordinary life one day at a time. Thank you for joining me on Her Extraordinary Life by Design. I hope you've been inspired and empowered by the incredible stories shared on this show. If you enjoyed this episode and the conversations we've had, I would greatly appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback and support mean the world to me, and it will help others discover the podcast and join our empowering community. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Together, we can continue to learn from these amazing women, uncover their extraordinary journeys, and be motivated to create our own lives by design. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shaping your extraordinary life one day at a time.
Have you ever wondered what actually happens in Congress every day? Stay informed on Capitol Hill's daily happenings with a concise, factual summary of the Senate and House of Representatives' activities from the previous session, free from bias, on the Congressional Record Daily Digest podcast. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and discover the process from the heart of U.S. politics. The Congressional Record Daily Digest, an Electricast production.
Electricast.
Welcome to Sarah Talk Solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, you've tuned into a bit of a different type of show. I'm Sarah B and I'm your host. You can find me on my IG, which is Aussie_Sarah_LA. I talk about amazing, relevant conversations and topics and what functions that goes on in this magical, wonderful, wonderful city of the City of Angels. My IG, which is Aussie_Sarah_LA.